In the dense forests of Bavaria, where ancient trees cast shadows that seemed to move independently of their branches, investigators uncovered evidence of an encounter so disturbing that official reports remain sealed to this day. The case involves a young German hiker whose disappearance revealed layers of mystery that challenge our understanding of what lurks in the wilderness. What began as a routine missing person investigation evolved into something far more sinister, involving unexplained phenomena that left seasoned investigators questioning the very nature of reality itself. Before diving in, don't forget to subscribe to our channel for regular updates. It was July 15, 1998, in the early morning hours when 20-year-old Tristan Brübach set out from the small Bavarian village of Ramsau, nestled in the shadow of the Berchtesgaden Alps. The air hung thick with mountain mist as he shouldered his hiking pack and headed toward the Kloßbachtal Valley, a remote area known for its pristine wilderness and treacherous terrain. Tristan, a university student from Munich studying forestry, had planned a 3-day solo hiking expedition through the national park. His girlfriend, Anna Hoffman, later told investigators that he had seemed unusually excited about this particular trip, mentioning strange stories he had heard from local villagers about unusual animal behavior in the valley. The young man was last seen at approximately 10 in the morning by an elderly shepherd named Klaus Weber, who was tending his flock near the valley entrance. Weber's statement to police contained details that would later prove significant. He described Tristan as appearing nervous, constantly glancing over his shoulder toward the tree line. Most disturbing was Weber's claim that Tristan had asked him about recent reports of missing livestock in the area. Upper told investigators that he had warned the young hiker about venturing too deep into the valley alone. The shepherd mentioned that several of his sheep had vanished over the previous weeks, found days later with wounds that no known predator could have inflicted. The carcasses displayed surgical precision in their mutilation, with organs removed in patterns that defied explanation. When Tristan failed to return by July 18th, Anna contacted local authorities. A search and rescue operation commenced the following morning, led by Hauptkommissar Friedrich Moss of the Bavarian State Police. The initial search focused on established hiking trails and known camping areas throughout the Kloßbachtal Valley. On the second day of searching, rescue teams discovered Tristan's abandoned campsite approximately 8 kilometers from the valley entrance. The scene presented investigators with their first glimpse into the bizarre nature of this case. Tristan's tent remained perfectly intact, with all his gear arranged in meticulous order inside. His sleeping bag showed no signs of disturbance, suggesting he had never slept there. Most peculiar was the discovery of Tristan's hiking boots, placed side by side outside the tent with military precision. Inside each boot, searchers found small piles of what appeared to be fresh pine needles, despite the fact that no pine trees grew within 100 meters of the campsite. Laboratory analysis later revealed these needles belonged to a species of pine not native to the region. The search team also uncovered Tristan's journal, left open to an entry dated July 16th. The handwriting, confirmed by graphology experts to be authentic, described encounters with what Tristan called the Watchers. According to the journal entry, these entities had been observing him from the forest periphery since his arrival in the valley. The journal described beings of unusual height, estimated at nearly 3 meters tall, with elongated limbs that moved with unnatural fluidity. Tristan wrote that their faces appeared human-like but distorted, with features that seemed to shift when observed directly. Most disturbing was his description of their eyes, which he claimed reflected light like those of nocturnal animals, yet displayed an unmistakable intelligence. Dr. Elizabeth Keller, a forensic psychiatrist who analyzed the journal, noted that the handwriting showed no signs of mental disturbance or drug influence. The entries were lucid and detailed, written by someone in full command of their faculties. This assessment only deepened the mystery surrounding Tristan's disappearance. The search expanded to include specialized mountain rescue units and tracking dogs from the German Federal Police. On July 21st, the dogs led investigators to a discovery that would fundamentally alter the nature of the investigation. Deep within the valley, searchers found a series of depressions in the forest floor that appeared to be footprints. These impressions measured nearly 60 centimeters in length and showed evidence of bipedal locomotion. The stride length suggested a creature of extraordinary height, consistent with Tristan's journal descriptions. Dr. Hans Zimmer, a forensic anthropologist from the University of Munich, examined the prints and concluded they could not have been made by any known animal species. More disturbing were the additional prints found alongside the large impressions. These matched the tread pattern of Tristan's hiking boots, but the gait analysis revealed something troubling. The spacing and depth of Tristan's footprints indicated he had been walking in perfect synchronization with whatever creature had made the larger tracks. The investigation took an even more sinister turn when searchers discovered evidence of what appeared to be a struggle approximately 200 meters from the footprint site. Broken branches and disturbed vegetation suggested violent activity, yet no blood or clothing fragments were found. However, investigators did uncover something that would haunt them for years to come. Carved into the bark of a massive oak tree were symbols that linguistic experts could not identify. The markings appeared fresh, made with a sharp instrument, and formed patterns that seemed to follow some unknown grammar or syntax. Most unsettling was the discovery of similar symbols in Tristan's journal, sketched in the margins of his final entries. Professor Maria Hoffmann, a specialist in ancient languages at the Max Planck Institute, examined the symbols and concluded they bore no resemblance to any known writing system. The precision of the carvings suggested they were not random scratches, but deliberate communication attempts. The symbols appeared to be warnings or instructions, though their meaning remained impenetrable. As the search entered its second week, investigators received reports from other hikers in the region describing unusual phenomena. Multiple witnesses reported hearing what they described as conversation in an unknown language echoing through the valley during nighttime hours. The voices seemed to come from multiple directions simultaneously, creating a disorienting acoustic effect. A group of experienced mountaineers reported encountering a young man matching Tristan's description near the valley's northern ridge. However, their account contained elements that investigators found deeply disturbing. The witnesses claimed the figure moved with jerky, unnatural motions, as if being controlled by an external force. When they called out to him, the figure turned toward them with movements that seemed to exceed normal human joint limitations. The mountaineers described the figure's face as bearing Tristan's features, but with an expression of vacant terror. Before they could approach, the figure disappeared into the forest with inhuman speed, leaving behind only the sound of snapping branches and what witnesses described as a low mechanical humming. Dr. Keller interviewed the witnesses extensively and found their accounts consistent and credible. All four mountaineers were experienced outdoorsmen with no history of mental illness or substance abuse. Their descriptions matched details from Tristan's journal with unsettling accuracy, despite having no access to those documents. The investigation reached its most disturbing phase when searchers discovered what appeared to be a makeshift shelter deep within the valley's most remote section. The structure, built from branches and forest debris, showed signs of recent habitation. Inside, investigators found items that definitively belonged to Tristan, including his identification documents and a portion of his clothing. However, the shelter's construction displayed techniques unknown to modern survival experts. The branch weaving patterns and joint methods resembled no known building traditions, yet the structure remained remarkably stable despite using no artificial fasteners. Forest Service experts estimated the shelter could have withstood severe weather conditions for months. More chilling was the discovery of additional journal pages scattered throughout the shelter. These entries, written in Tristan's handwriting, described a gradual transformation in his perception of reality. He wrote about learning to communicate with the entities through a combination of spoken words and the symbolic language found carved into the trees. The final journal entry, dated July 23rd, 5 days after Tristan's planned return, contained a message that investigators found deeply unsettling. Tristan wrote that he had been chosen for what he termed the crossing, a process that would allow him to exist simultaneously in multiple realities. He described feeling his consciousness expanding beyond human limitations. While his physical form underwent changes he could not fully comprehend. The entry concluded with a statement that would become central to the ongoing investigation. Tristan wrote that he would return to the human world periodically to serve as a bridge between realities, helping others understand the true nature of existence beyond conventional perception. He warned that those who encountered him might find the experience disturbing, as his transformed state challenged human understanding of identity and consciousness. On July 25th, the official search was suspended due to dangerous weather conditions and the remote location's accessibility challenges. However, unofficial sightings of Tristan continued throughout the following months. Local villagers reported encounters with a figure matching his description, though these sightings shared common elements that investigators found deeply troubling. Witnesses consistently described the figure as moving with unnatural grace through terrain that should have been impassable for humans. Multiple reports mentioned that the figure seemed to communicate through methods that bypassed normal speech, conveying complex ideas directly into observers' minds. Those who experienced these encounters reported lasting psychological effects, including recurring dreams featuring the same symbolic language found in Tristan's journal. The case files, transferred to a specialized unit within the German Federal Criminal Police, remain classified at the highest levels. However, leaked documents suggest that similar disappearances occurred in remote wilderness areas across Central Europe during the late 1990s. Each case involved experienced hikers who vanished under circumstances that defied conventional explanation. What do you think really happened to Tristan Brübach in that remote Bavarian valley? Subscribe to explore more cases where the line between reality and the impossible becomes terrifyingly thin.